Hey everybody, welcome to the Addiction Unlimited podcast, where you get to learn everything you want to know about addiction and recovery. I'm your host, Angela Pugh, co-founder of Kansas City Recovery, life coach, and recovering alcoholic. To learn more about me, you can listen to episode 0 on your podcast app or find us on the web at addictionunlimited.com. Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 79 of the Addiction Unlimited podcast. I'm your coach, Angela Pugh, here to help you get that sober life you want. Thank you for hanging out with me today and listening to the pod. I've got an awesome topic today with a little bit of a truth bomb that relapse is a choice. That's right. You heard me, my friends. It's a choice. And we're going to dig into that in depth in just a moment. But first, let's do a quick shout out. This shout out is going to be to my Facebook group members who are stepping up and getting raw and honest and posting in their first 1 to 2 days of sobriety. I love you guys. The bravery it takes to show yourself, to share your struggle. And it's so smart of you to reach out and let people know exactly where you are. Those are the actions that show me you're serious about not drinking. You want help and support and guidance. You aren't hiding in the shadows, letting addiction run the show. You're creating accountability and being honest about who you are and where you are. And I'm so in love with you guys and so proud of you. And I just want you to keep posting and talking and moving forward. Love, love, love. And if you are not in that Facebook group, jump over there and join that. It's facebook.com/groups/addiction unlimited. It's totally private. Nobody can see that you're in there except the other people in there. But if you want killer support and motivation, join us in that Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/addiction unlimited. Okay, let's dive into this topic. And let me tell you when I decided to talk about this. I'm sure you listened to last week's episode with Robert, right? A real Addiction Unlimited listener. I conned this poor man. No, not really. I didn't really have to con him. He was totally willing. But I got him to come on and record a live coaching session Q&A with me. And I really enjoyed doing that with him. I think I'll probably do more of those coaching podcasts in the future too. But there was part of that conversation when Robert was talking about the possibility of relapse. And he said, I don't know if that will happen to me. I hope it doesn't happen. And in that moment, I thought, what do you mean you hope it doesn't happen? And I said to him, I said, you decide that. You decide it's not going to happen. That's totally in your control. That's your decision. And it was just nagging me the rest of the week after we recorded that call. I kept thinking about it and thinking this is a major sticking point for people. People don't realize they're making a choice or really a series of choices. And that's what we're going to get into today. I firmly believe that when the bear is awake and in full-blown drunk mode, we as alcoholics do not have a choice because we're not in control of ourselves in that time, right? We're not making our own decisions. Our brains have been hijacked. There's a lot of biology at play in that time. And drinking definitely hits a point that it's absolute survival, right? So when I have alcohol in my body, I'm not in control of my choices so much at that time. And I know many of you didn't drink the way I drank. I was a chronic alcoholic, daily drinker. I didn't drink in the morning. Well, I was just going to bed in the morning, really. So my version of morning was a little later in the day. And I was not a person that would wake up and immediately start drinking. I was even too hungover to even drink. And I know that's why people drink in the morning to get rid of the shakes and get back to normal. I just didn't do it. I don't know why. Maybe I thought that was even too dysfunctional for me or something. I have no idea. I always had the shakes though, literally for the last at least year of my drinking. I shook all the time. I couldn't hold a pen and write my name. I mean, it was crazy. And probably the most crazy part of all is that from the outside, as an outsider, you would have never known I was that bad. Like I was so good at hiding it. I mean, for all intents and purposes, I was functioning. I could put that mask on, that mask of the person who had their shit together, right? And I could keep it on until I got home and could fall apart. I was just such a savvy manipulator that, I could do my hair and makeup and throw on a smile. And that was my game face. And my game face was solid. For me, drinking was survival. It wasn't fun anymore. I hated it. I felt like it's hostage and I despised it. And at the same time, I couldn't survive without it. When I was living that life, I didn't have a choice. Alcohol had me brainwashed and the bear was fully in control. And you don't have to drink the same quantity as me to get to that place. It doesn't take a ton of alcohol to hijack your brain. And I know you know that because you lived it too. But here's the catch. Once we have some time without alcohol, that physical withdrawal is over, the mental fog starts to clear a little bit. And if you're doing some intentional, purposeful work to be a sober person, that bear is starting to lose control. He's losing his grip on you and you're making your own choices now. Once you get, especially a few weeks or a few months, you've made the choice 1,000,000 times to not take a drink, right? So you're capable. So even if you're getting a week or 2 weeks, again, you've made the choice over and over again every single day to not drink. So you're capable of making that choice and not drinking. You've also made 1,000,000 other choices like seeking out podcasts or going to meetings, reading books, hiring a coach like me. You're making choices every day. And this is where I get confused when people say they hope they don't relapse. Why hope? You don't hope, you decide. One of the greatest mind fucks of sobriety is indecision. And let's talk about this for a minute because I hear so many people over the years say they quit drinking for a little while so they could learn how to drink like a normal person. First of all, there's nothing normal about those people, okay? Just because they don't drink like fools does not make them normal. They're all a damn mess, just like you and me. Being a mess is just part of the human condition. We're all a hot damn mess. So there's nothing normal about those people. And I think I remember before I got to AA, I remember even having that same thought. If I could just get to the point where maybe I only drank once a year or something. I just could not decide to give it up once and for all. However, when you tell yourself that you don't have to quit drinking entirely, or someday you're going to be able to control it, or you're going to learn how to just drink beer or wine and no hard alcohol, or you're only going to drink on the weekends, or you never drink until after 5 p.m., or only on special occasions. All you're doing in those thought processes is delaying the inevitable. You are living in indecision, and that allows the bear to stay awake, calculating his perfect moment to take you down. The truth is, when you're trying to control something, it's because you've already lost control. And that's the crux of alcoholism and addiction. It's not how much you drink or how often you drink. It's the lack of control when you drink. It doesn't matter if you only drink once a year, if on that one occasion you get crazy and black out and end up running down the street naked or get in a bar fight or get a DUI. It doesn't matter if it takes you 3 drinks or 30 to get there. The fact is you're there, and you lacked the control to stop before you got there, right? So don't get hung up on, oh, I don't drink like Angela did. I'm not that bad. Or even people say the same thing. They sit in AA and they're like, whoa, I'm not that bad. That didn't happen to me. Well, dude, you're sitting in an AA meeting. You didn't get there by fucking accident. Nobody shows up at AA because they wonder what's going on. Nobody wakes up and is like, you know what? I think I'm going to pop into AA today and see what those people are up to. No, you end up in an AA meeting because you're confused and you're struggling and you know you have a problem. So don't get caught up in those details, right? We've talked about this before. It's not the details. It's the lack of control, regardless of how often or how much you have to drink. It's the lack of control. So when you take a break from alcohol or take a step back, it's because you've already lost control. And those are the phrases I used, by the way. I took a break once for 30 days and I took a step back once for 60 days. Both times I told myself I'd be able to control it. No, I take that back. The first time, the 30-day time, I told myself I'd be able to control it after having that break because, and I remember it perfectly, the first night that I drank after having that 30-day hiatus, I remember the thought process perfectly. I was like, okay, well, now I know I can control it. Now I know I don't have to drink every day. I've proven it to myself because I've gone 30 days without drinking. So now I can just drink on special occasions. Like I can drink on birthdays. I can drink on New Year's Eve. You know, New Year's Eve was a big hang up for me for a long, long time. But both times after having a break, I came back and I drank worse than ever. And when I stopped for 60 days, this was a really crazy time for me. And I know this pattern so often when you guys reach out to me on Instagram, and I'm at Addiction Unlimited on Instagram, or when you send me emails about your struggles, I see you going through the exact same struggles I went through. And what I really want you to hear is when you are really ready to quit drinking, you will happily follow every suggestion given to you because you so desperately want to stop. If you hear yourself objecting to suggestions or thinking you know better or thinking you can figure out a different way or you're smarter or whatever you tell yourself, when you catch yourself in those thought processes and those objections, chances are you're going to drink again because you haven't fully committed. When you commit to a job, you follow every suggestion from your new boss or your team leader or manager, or even your new coworkers, because they've already worked there, so they know the landscape better than you. And you want to make a good impression and you want to do a good job, so you follow all those suggestions. When you meet your significant other's parents for the first time, you follow every suggestion from your significant other about what to do and what not to do and how to behave and what to talk about because you want to do a good job and make a good impression. You follow direction. But when it comes to sobriety, although your best thinking got you in a position to need sobriety, right? You want to think you don't need to listen because you know better, or you're too scared to really commit, or you're fearful of the future and don't know what it's going to be like, or you don't know what your friends and family will think, or whatever the thing is, right? So when I stopped drinking for that 60-day stretch, at that point, I knew I needed to stop forever. But I wasn't ready to fully commit to that because I just wasn't ready, I guess. I don't know. There was a small part of me that was ready. I was tired. I knew alcohol controlled me. I definitely did not have control of it. And I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I went 60 days, no drinking, It didn't bother me that much. I wasn't fighting cravings all day, every day. I wasn't mad about not drinking. I was way more like relieved. I loved not drinking because drinking just wore me the F out. And one day I went out with a friend of mine. In Kansas City, every year we have this huge outdoor art fair. It's a really big deal in my city. It's in a beautiful place, and you can find super expensive art there for collectors, all the way to artists and stuff and crafts, right? It's just a huge outdoor art fair. It's awesome. And literally like thousands and thousands of people go every year. So my buddy and I went to art fair, and we walked around all day. We had a blast walking and talking and just hanging out. And he had a beer or two throughout the day. He was not alcoholic at all. Like, he didn't have an interest in having more than one or two on any given day. I mean, he did it completely wrong. Okay, let's just be honest. He had no idea how to be an alcoholic. But throughout the day, when he would order a beer, he would ask me if I wanted one. And I told him no, I didn't want to drink. And I didn't make a big deal out of it. I was just like, nope, I'm good. I'm not drinking right now. And as the day went on and I had declined, he knew I was struggling with drinking. And I'm sure he had seen the results of my drinking at one point or another. I don't really remember, but because he wasn't alcoholic, or he wasn't an alcoholic style drinker, he didn't understand all of the inner turmoil that I experienced around drinking, right? And as the day went on and I had declined to drink a few times, I think he started to get irritated. Not irritated in a bad, like he was mad at me, not like that, but like he wanted to go out and have some drinks, right? And he was probably used to me doing that with him. And he had me and I wasn't drinking, and he wanted to have some drinks, and he probably wanted to meet girls or whatever. He wanted to go to the bar and I wasn't drinking. So we had left art fair and he wanted to go out. But because I wasn't drinking, I didn't want to go out. I wanted to go home and be with my dogs where I was safe. I had only committed to not drinking for a little while, right? Like I never, this was 60 days and I never said I was never drinking again. But I knew at that stage of the game, I knew I needed to stop forever. I just wasn't quite there yet. And I wasn't strong enough in that conviction, right? I just hadn't fully committed. But I knew what would happen the moment I took a drink. And I just didn't want that life anymore. I was so worn down by alcohol. And as we're driving back toward my house, he starts telling me how I'm not an alcoholic and it's okay to have a drink. And I remember it so perfectly. He was so like matter of fact. And he's like, listen, I'm not going to let you get out of control. We're going to go have one drink. Then I'm going to take you home and drop you off. And that's it. And I knew in my head, it just wasn't that simple, and I was probably tired of saying no because I had done it all day. And, at the end of the day, like you have decision fatigue. I don't know if you guys have heard this or not, but this is a real thing. This is why we're more apt to screw up all of our convictions at the end of the day because your brain gets tired. You've been making decisions all day. Especially like with food for me, right? Like if I'm making decisions all day long, I'm talking myself out of eating the bad thing and eating the good thing. You get decision fatigue. That's why we always screw up in the evening because you're tired. You're tired of making the decisions. You're tired of fighting cravings. So you're always more vulnerable in the evening. And I think that's exactly the position I was in. So I just agreed to go to the bar with him. And I don't know, like when we were on our way there, I don't know that I had decided to have a drink. I think I kind of just wanted him to shut up. So, and that was the easiest way. Like I was not strong enough then. I was so unhealthy and I had no self-esteem. So I definitely was not strong enough back then to advocate for myself and just say, dude, take me home. Like, leave me alone. I'm not drinking. I did not have that strength then. And it was such a crazy moment for me, right? We get to the bar and I'm sitting there. I didn't want to drink. I knew I would spiral immediately back to that gross life I was trapped in 60 days before, and I really didn't want that. And as many of you know, tequila was the love of my life, right? It was the only liquor I would drink. I never drank vodka or gin or anything. I was in a torrid love affair with tequila. So sitting in that bar that night, I ordered a margarita and my friend ordered a beer. And the server brought our drinks and set them on the table. And I literally felt my whole body tense up. And I honestly stared at that drink for probably 40 minutes. I think somewhere in my head, I kind of hoped that he and I would just keep chatting and laughing, and maybe he wouldn't notice I wasn't drinking my drink. And maybe, just maybe, I could get out of there without drinking it. And I remember just staring at it, and like, it's just this little tiny glass of liquid, but it had so much power. And I remember looking at it and thinking of everything that it symbolized, and thinking of how crappy I lived and how much I hated my life and how much I hated how I felt every day when I woke up hungover. And I had so much resentment toward alcohol at that point. And I just stared at that drink, and I didn't want it because I knew the second that drink hit my mouth, I knew I would be right back in that game. So I was hoping maybe he wouldn't notice, but he noticed. And at some point he looked at me and he's like, "Are you going to stare at that or are you going to drink it?" And in another one of those split-second decisions, there was so much at risk in that simple drink. I knew where it would take me. I knew I couldn't control it. I knew the moment it touched my lips, I was done for. And like a good alcoholic, I picked up the drink and I drank the whole thing in one fell swoop. Slammed the whole drink, put the glass down, and looked at him, and I was probably even a little resentful at him, right? For not just leaving me alone about it when I had said repeatedly I wasn't drinking. And I told him to take me home. It's funny too, because I think like as he was driving me home, he had this sense of victory, like, "I told you so." Like he had said we would have one drink and he was going to drop me off and he wasn't going to let me get out of control. And that's exactly what he did. So I think he felt like he proved something to me. But for me, what happened was he dropped me off and I promptly got in my car and went out drinking. I picked up right where I left off 60 days before and then some. And this was my final hoorah. And literally, I drank with a vengeance. I don't know how long it was between that 60-day pause and when I finally got sober for real. If I had to guesstimate, it was probably a year or two. And it was hands down the darkest time of my life. When I look back now, I see where I made mistakes and like how I didn't protect myself because I wasn't fully committed. I was trying to teeter like on this imaginary line of being able to move through the world and not drink, but not have to tell anyone that I couldn't drink. Like I just wanted it to be my choice and not that I was making the choice because I had to. I wanted so badly to fit the bill of that like societal norm of having the social life and hanging out with the people and going to the parties and the bars and the neighborhood picnics without all the weight of understanding that I'm not like those other people. But the truth is, I'm not like those other people. I have a responsibility to protect myself and to protect other people from my insane and unacceptable behavior. I have a responsibility to make different choices to ensure everyone's safety and well-being. And every single piece of that is a choice. Drinking and relapsing is a choice. When alcohol enters my body, it's no longer a choice. There's another system at play. My brain is damaged. And when alcohol gets in there, I lose my free will. But when I have some time without alcohol, a week, a month, 6 months, I've started to regain some semblance of control in that my physical addiction to alcohol has left, right, with withdrawal and detox. My physical craving and need is over. Now it's just mental. When you decide to drink again after any period of sobriety, you're making a series of choices. Just like I did that day at art fair with my friend. There were a million times I could have told him to just drop me off at home. Hell, I said no all day long. So it's not like I wasn't capable of saying no. Because I didn't know better and I wasn't committed to quitting for good, I left myself vulnerable. A relapse starts in your head long before it ever turns into the action of taking a drink. And at any point in that thought process, you have the opportunity to make a different choice. The moment the thought of a drink enters your mind, you have a choice. You can keep it to yourself, or you can talk to someone who understands and say, holy crap, I thought about drinking today. It was so weird and out of the blue, and it kind of made me uncomfortable. Taking a few minutes to connect with someone and to rat out your alcoholic brain takes all of its power away. But if you keep it to yourself, then it has the power and it's controlling you. And the second you hide that, the bear starts to wake up and pay attention because now he has a little chink in the armor and he can start to chip away at it. That's a choice. Hide it and keep it to yourself, or protect yourself and let it out. Usually, you'll think about it for several days, mulling it over. Should I drink or should I not drink? Could I get away with it? Maybe no one would know. And with every day, all of those thoughts, the bear's getting more excited. And every day, you are making a choice. You're moving closer to a drink, or you're making the choice to do something to counteract those thoughts and protect yourself. That's a choice. Next, you have to plan it. The how, the where, the when. And at this stage, you have a choice. Let those thoughts continue to grow, or do something to start taking control back from the bear. Right? You've got to decide how you're going to do it, where you're going to do it, when you're going to do it. You probably got to manipulate a few chess pieces to arrange it all and create time for yourself, create some alone time for yourself, or create space that you can be away from the house and you have an excuse. There's a lot of planning in there and a lot of thinking in there. And every second of that, you can make a different choice. Then you have to get the alcohol. Again, you have a choice. You can get the alcohol, or you can do something to make sure you don't get the alcohol. All of these things have to happen in order to relapse. And you're not a victim here. It doesn't happen to you. It doesn't happen by accident. It happens because you aren't making the choices to ensure it doesn't happen. Every step of this drinking process is a series of choices, and every step of the way you have the option to make a different choice. So let's talk about some small steps you can take to protect yourself. Because if you really don't want to drink, you'll want to know what to do to make sure you don't end up vulnerable and weakened like I did. First of all, tell someone you aren't drinking. Someone has to know what you are doing. Partially because you have to create some accountability for yourself, and partially because you have to have someone to connect with. If you keep it to yourself and don't create any accountability, what you're doing is protecting your option to drink. Don't tell yourself any other lie about keeping it a secret. The absolute truth is you are protecting your option to drink, regardless of what you tell yourself. You tell yourself, oh, they won't understand, or I don't know how to explain it, or it'll be awkward. and I just want to do this on my own. All of those messages, the bear is manipulating you. Do not fall for it. Tell someone what you're doing. Create some accountability. Protect yourself. You don't have to tell everyone, but you have to tell someone who is important to you. Next, do not assume that your friends and family will understand your need to not drink. I made this mistake in a huge way on 2 separate occasions. One of them was the one I just told you about with art fair and my friend. Assuming my friends knew I wasn't drinking and they would be supportive of that. They're not always capable of being supportive in the way that we need them to be. It's not that they want to hurt you or not support you. They just don't get it. Just like my friend that day at art fair. He wasn't trying to hurt me. He wasn't being unkind or unsupportive. He just didn't know any better. And it's not his responsibility to know. It's mine. And it's my responsibility to make the right decision for my life, regardless of how anyone else thinks or feels about it. Your friends and family love you, and they want you to be well. And their understanding of this bizarre illness is extremely limited. Don't be mad at them for that. Be grateful for them that they don't have to battle this. I am so grateful for anyone that doesn't have to understand this thing because it's crazy. It's hard and it's crazy. I don't want anyone to have to understand it because if you understand it, you have it and you're in the battle with me. So be grateful for those that don't understand it. The other time I made this horrible mistake was after my accident, right? And you guys have heard me tell you this story. I crashed my car. I laid in my house and detoxed for 3 days, and then I drank again because I put myself in a position thinking my friends knew that I wasn't drinking. They knew I had just crashed my car drunk. Like they understand I'm not going to drink. And that wasn't the case. They fully expected me to drink. And like a good alcoholic, I did. And I learned a valuable lesson, and I never put myself in that position again. The next thing I would say is understand your limitations and don't test yourself. That day at art fair, all I wanted to do was go home at the end of a great day. We had a great day. We had so much fun. But I didn't have the courage to say that. Probably because I wanted to look tough and strong, because that's always my thing. I've got to be the tough guy. And really, I just needed to go home. I just needed to go home and be with my dogs where I was safe. I had made it through the entire day. I had declined the drinks, and I just needed to go home. But I didn't understand my limitations, right? Know that there will be challenging and uncomfortable situations and avoid them whenever possible. If there's an event that you absolutely have to attend and you know it's going to be challenging, put some safeguards in place beforehand to protect yourself. Maybe put a time limit on how long you'll stay. Have a friend on text message that knows you're sober so you're grounded and you have someone outside the event to chat with and keep you grounded. Drive yourself so you can leave whenever necessary, whether that's 10 minutes in or 90 minutes in. The key is understanding what your goal is, what your big picture goal is, and making sure that you are putting safeguards in place and making choices to support that goal. And these are just a few steps you can take to insulate yourself. And I don't want you to think that relapse just happens and get in that mindset of hoping it doesn't happen to you. It's not like you're just walking down the street and all of a sudden alcohol falls in your mouth, people. You're making a series of choices to get that alcohol in your mouth. And there are many, many moments in that relapse process that you are perfectly welcome and capable of making a different choice. And that's no different than every other crappy choice we make. But they are your choices and yours alone. So decide where you want to be and who you want to be and start making choices to support that. Okay? That was a lot of information, and I hope it helps. This journey is simple, but it's not necessarily easy. Just know that you have the power here. You have the power, and don't let that damn bear tell you differently. I hope this was so helpful. I hope it's good information. I hope I didn't ramble too long. Now, if you don't follow me on Instagram, please go do that at Addiction Unlimited and get in that Facebook group. It's a great way to have support and accountability, and it's totally private. Facebook.com/groups/Addiction Unlimited. And for those of you who want more, I've got that for you too. You can work with me privately as your coach in a few different ways. We get serious about sobriety. We dig deep to create a sober strategy that works for you. You can finally stop spinning your wheels and feeling like you keep ending up back at square one over and over again. And remember too, working with me even for a session isn't just an hour session. My sessions are supersized and they come with a full week of follow-up. That's a week of support, and all you have to do is sit on the phone and get all the answers you need. Easy peasy. You can find all of that info at www.myrecoverytoolbox.com. And as always, I will link to all of that in the show notes so you can get there right from your podcast app. I hope you guys are having a great day, and I will see you next week.
You've reached the end of another great episode of the Addiction Unlimited podcast. Candid and honest conversation about addiction and recovery. Be sure to visit us at addictionunlimited.com to join the conversation and access show notes and links to everything we talked about. Love this episode? Please take 30 seconds to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes to help us improve and give you the information you want. Thanks for listening. See you next week.